Oh, no, yeah, okay, it's working. That's a good start, I think. Alright, if it's working, it's working. Let's get going. So, short presentation on capital punishment. 5 minutes or so, whatever. I want to start by saying, well, first, hi, I'm Todd Lamont. I want to start by saying that there are no citations in this, as all of the things I found and read and looked at, either they don't know how to use statistics, they do know how to use statistics and they're behind a paywall, which I'm not paying for, or their methodology is so flawed that I refuse to cite them. That might be my own bias here, in that my entire dissertation is based around bad methodology. So I'm probably looking far too deep into things that probably don't matter. But regardless, this is instead going to be a theoretical explanation or introduction to the ideas around capital punishment. And so we'll get into that as we get into that. So, who deserves to die? That's a really important question. So, moving aside the things of like, imagine if this happened to your daughter, and what would you want? It doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. It's an emotional argument, but I don't care right now about that. What we're asking is, why would someone need to be killed to better society? Because what's the criminal system for? If that makes some sense to you. So, I would say here, this is where you would come into the rehabilitation, risk assessment kind of things around what capital punishment is for. And you would say that, can I do a little thing here? Do I have a pen? I've got a pen, okay. So, if a thief steals again, it's not the worst thing in the world. We wouldn't want it, so we can cut them out of the equation. Alright? If this happens once, that's awful. If there's a chance it'll happen again, we should not allow that. So, same thing goes for here, and here. Definitely this one. It's just unacceptable. This one's pretty much life in prison would probably do the job. And then you can probably get rid of that one. And there are no stats behind any of this stuff. It's just, we know that sex offenders, so we just need to make a little thing around here. I'm just making an absolute mess of this. They have a low recidivism rate. However, is any recidivism rate too high? And at that point, do you just say life in prison or execution? And the whole life in prison thing, I've got 2 slides later, but I basically say, is it worth putting them in prison forever when you could just Thanos snap them out of existence? I don't know. Irregardless, the first question is, who deserves to die? And the reason you would pick someone to die is their crime is so horrendous that you never want to risk it happening again, which would say that if they have a risk factor of, where is it, here, a risk factor of 0, then there's no point in executing. So, is being guilty enough? Is being found guilty enough? Well, beyond the reasonable doubt is not the highest threshold. It would have to be overwhelming, irrefutable, just damning evidence. So DNA evidence is on the long screen. DNA evidence is a good one here because there's really no faking this. It's immune to false confessions. You can find DNA evidence which only suggests something rather than proves it, so that's not good enough on its own. Video recordings are pretty good, provided they're not doctored, and there are people who can tell this. I'm not that smart. It took me 15 minutes to set up this stream, so we'll ignore that. So, again, back to the, is low risk worth any risk at all? For thieves, oh, they're still in there somewhere. Doesn't matter. I mean, if a thief is a thief, chuck them in jail for however long they're in jail. Depends on your country. They come out, they steal again. Oh no. What's the worst that happened? Someone lost some stuff. You can get them their stuff back. Stuff doesn't matter as much as, you know, life. Oh, that's cold. Drunk drivers, they're very dangerous because they can take life, and that's where murder will have to be broken down into first, second... Oh no, I hate riding with this thing. First, second, and manslaughter. Ooh, that looks bad. Ooh, how do I get rid of that? Can I? Eraser. Oh, no. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Ooh, wow. I'm learning a lot today. Okay, so we're back onto this stuff. And so we'll ask ourselves, if someone is being recorded on video and they have DNA evidence which doesn't just suggest something but downright proves it, and there are no false confessions involved, because they haven't confessed, it's just been proven as much as you can, and they have a risk factor of above 0 to reoffend, and their crime is one of these 3 here, what's the point in keeping them alive is the question. Now, I'm not arguing that it's worth it to kill them. I'm not arguing that you should or you shouldn't. The question is, what's the point? And that's where it really comes into play. Now, rehabilitation and punishment is a whole other thing, where you can go either you rehabilitate people or you punish them, or both. Capital punishment is obviously the punishment side, which for some reason I wrote here and here, but okay. And rehabilitation, you cannot rehabilitate someone who's dead. So you never want to employ capital punishment on someone who you would ever want to rehabilitate. And that's that one. So I think that's my 5 minutes. I'm not quite sure. Let me know what you think about this. I think I've got comments enabled on this thing. Actually, I've been live for 7 minutes. Not important. We'll leave it there.